Hi everyone. It's towards the end of week 1 and I've read through your introductions and tried to reply to everybody who's posted, and just wanted to say thank you for sharing some of who you are with your classmates and with me, letting us see pictures of you and know a little bit more about what makes you tick, what things you enjoy, and what you hope to do in your future careers. I like to be able to understand who my students are as people and what kinds of, especially reading material they enjoy, so that we can start to kind of tailor what we talk about around your interests and possibly your future careers. I wanted to say a little bit about the first 3 pieces that you're reading in the fiction unit. So these are all kind of macabre pieces. They are not happy pieces, if you will, and a lot of what we read in literature isn't. And sometimes I hear gripes from students about that, like, why can't we ever read anything that's happy? And to that I answer, because happy doesn't make for good conflict. And that boils down to, think about anything that you watch or read, any kind of media that you consume is usually about people overcoming obstacles, overcoming conflicts, whether that's internal conflicts, like I don't know what to do with the rest of my life, or I'm coming to grips with a mental illness, or if it's a conflict with another person, family members, partners, friends, conflict with the weather, all of those things are what make us progress as people and as a species. And if things were perfectly happy and there was no conflict, life would be pretty boring. And so we are drawn to watching those conflicts play out. And the first 3 pieces you're reading are, as I said, macabre. They are dark. You are reading Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been by Joyce Carol Oates. It is a story that is based on a true story that happened in the, I think, late 60s, early 70s in Arizona. If you Google the Pied Piper of Tucson, you will see a picture of the murderer named Charles Schmid, and you will recognize that character in Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? So kind of a story about a young woman and how she is distancing herself from her family, trying to become a woman and getting caught up in the vanities of that as a teenager, and then being stalked by a person, and then ultimately making a sacrifice for her family. So that's Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? Then we're reading the piece The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. And Amontillado is just a fortified wine. It's a wine that people seek out for. I think it's aged for a certain amount of time, and people who are connoisseurs of wines and brandies look for it. So in this story, you have 2 men who have apparently been friendly or friends, and one has felt that he has suffered a lifetime of insults by the other, and so he decides to get revenge for those accumulated insults, and he does it by luring his friend into a cave, essentially, with the promise of a cask of Amontillado. And when the friend gets there, he chains him to a wall and starts to brick him into the space and leaves him there to die. It's a dark piece. As you're familiar with Edgar Allan Poe, most of his pieces are pretty dark. And the narrator of that piece is talking to someone. He addresses the reader, you who know my soul so well. And we don't know who that person is he's talking to. Is he talking to a priest? Is he talking to his family? Is he talking to himself? Is he talking to us? So think about those things as you read it. And then finally you have Lucis Naturae by Margaret Atwood, which is the story of a young woman who suffers from what is, I think, porphyria. And it is a condition associated with, or sometimes called, vampirism. And it is a bodily condition that makes you have the appearance of bloody, bloodshot eyes, bloody-looking gums, kind of yellowing skin. It comes out physically, and so people are repulsed by it. And since the story is presumably set in an older time period, pitchforks and lights, we can assume that people who had physical and mental disabilities were not treated as well as they might be today. So it is the story of this young woman coming to terms with who she is, how her family treats her, how society treats her, and again, sacrificing herself for her family. So there is certainly an undercurrent of violence in all of these pieces. There is also an undercurrent of vanity and pride, as well as sacrifice, family, and what we allow others to do to us and what we are incapable of escaping from. So that's just a short summary of what we're reading this week. I hope you enjoy them. Don't go into them expecting happy endings. And we will eventually move on to some pieces that are less daunting, less dark, but these are the first that we're starting with. So enjoy. And as always, let me know if you have questions. Thanks.